to This Is Why Musicians Need Therapy, the podcast where musicians talk about the mental stuff that everyone deals with, usually while pretending they're fine on stage. Full disclosure, they're not therapists, just musicians who definitely needed one. So settle in, laugh with us, learn with us, and if you're trying to figure out this whole being a musician with feelings thing, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I'm Rich Davidson, and of course I'm joined as always by Eric Forbes and Craig Henry. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Great.
You go first.
so great.
No, I'm good. I'm good too. I'm good.
All right, well, Craig, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, yeah, I've had this thought for a very long time, and then it occurred to me a few days ago, this could be a good topic to raise with you guys to chat about, just sort of, obviously if we can, solve all the musical world's problems, including this one, that would be great.
Well, that's what we're here for.
That's the point, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's a little dystopian. It's a little, I don't know if the maudlin is the right word, but it's a little depressing. But maybe we can find the lighter side of it. Maybe you guys can help me actually find the actionable approach to this conundrum, which is basically, I've always kind of thought, I don't know about always. I think in my 20s I had more optimism. Anyway, that's a really long segue. The premise is, how as a musician, how as an artist, because I'm sure it goes through any art form, there has been so much incredible art being created before you, even, in your own lifetime, let alone, our, hundreds and hundreds of years before that. Like, what could I possibly contribute to the world of art as a musician that hasn't already done before? And not only that, but it was probably done way, way, way better than I could ever contribute. Like, what do I have to contribute? And I often think about just Paul McCartney as a songwriter. Like, how could, he did it. His songwriting is incredible. I don't know that I should even bother attempting songwriting, because he has done that and it was incredible, Well,
there's always plumbing. You could always do that.
Hey, that could be the alternative name for this podcast. There's always plumbing. So yeah, it's a little depressing, but I don't know. I mean, but then again, I'm still working as a musician. I haven't given up. But it's a bit, and I will say, particularly with songwriting, I think when it comes to creating music, live performance, I still get a kick out of that, and I feel like I have my own inherent personality and whatever to bring to live performance, but perhaps more with songwriting and the recorded medium. I can't reinvent the wheel. I don't know. I mean, and maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit, but yeah, that's sort of the basic gist. So I don't know if you guys have had a similar thought cross your minds, or how you approach that.
Yeah, I mean, when you first brought it up, and I was thinking on it, and my first, I have to say my first initial answer that came to me was, well, nothing. I have nothing to contribute to anything. Well. So good night.
That's right.
No, but
mic drop.
So that was my first thought, But I think then I went to a place of this phrase I love that is comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah,
and I think that's definitely really true in the arts. Because there's always going to be people that play piano better than me. There's going to be people that sing better than me. There's going to be people that write better than me. There's going to be people that, do everything better than me. And if I try and judge my success by, how close I've gotten to them, then it'll never be, it's a never-ending journey. It was like Matthew McConaughey said he needs 3 things: someone to chase. The person he's chasing is himself in 5 years, and he's never going to catch that person. So that led me to just a one-word answer. I think authenticity. I think that everyone is incredibly unique in their approach to the arts because there's an infinite way to do things. It's pretty fascinating, really, when you think there's only 11 notes, 12 notes, but infinite possibilities. And I think there's so many different tastes. People like different things. People gravitate towards different things. People remember different things, and as long as you're always yourself and telling your story through music, then I think that's I think you can call yourself successful. I mean, I think we've talked about this some, that the term success when it comes to the arts is really difficult to explain, because it's not always going to be financially successful or commercially successful. But when it comes to arts and stuff that's emotional, I think it can be emotionally successful. You write something that really resonates with someone. You get someone through a really tough time by playing a song that they want. Whatever your avenue of art is. So that's kind of what I landed on when I went through the phases. I've been through phases thinking about this question, but that's kind of where I wound up.
5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
5 stages of podcast, I guess. Yeah. For me, and it's interesting because, a lot of things came to mind, and I understand because I've experienced it to a certain extent, but for me, I've always just kind of been the drummer, and I'm there kind of supporting everybody else. There have been times where I have been casually involved in songwriting, but mine leans more towards the production side rather than, maybe the writing, maybe more arranging for me than anything else. However, I've run into tons of people who struggle with this. How can I, as Craig said, how can I add anything when all this stuff has been done before? And I think the interesting thing is sometimes I think there's different ways to get to authenticity. There's different ways to get to something original. And, I'll throw a couple of things, couple of examples out. Maybe you've heard of these groups, maybe you haven't. But there's a band called Into It, Over It. And they primarily kind of circulate in the indie rock area. And they're kind of pop punk, but they're also kind of math rock. It's like Chon meets Blink 182, because they have all the stylings of a pop punk band, but then they also have the stylings of math rock, which is kind of like a subgenre of indie anyway, but it has kind of unconventional time signatures, intricate guitar riffs, polyrhythms, a lot of guitar tapping, complicated drum parts.
Like
there's a lot of yes and no. It does have elements of prog rock, but it usually doesn't hit quite as hard. And most of the time, math rock would be instrumental. There's some examples would be like Don Caballero or Chon. Now those are instrumentals, but then you have more, you could call them mainstream if you want, minus the Bear and American Football, where they add lyrics, add vocals into it, which kind of lends more to indie rock. But the point is that Into It, Over It has all those things the rock anthems, but they have the time signatures and the storytelling because they have vocals. So it's a mixture of what has been done before, which sounds really unique. Another one is a band called Jellyfish, and they released 2 albums in the early 90s. Probably their biggest one was an album called Spilt Milk, and they had a song called Joining a Fan Club. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard it before, but it's worth giving a listen to just for the fact that their stylings are like power pop and punk rock, but they also have kind of influences from the 60s, like Beach Boy harmonies and Beatles-esque melodies. And, the one song Joining a Fan Club, it just reminds me of Queen, only it hits a little bit harder. When I listen to it, I hear the influences, but I don't go, oh, well, they just ripped off Queen, or they ripped off the Beatles. There are bands that do that. I know people like Greta Van Fleet, but I think they totally rip off Led Zeppelin with every note they play. That's my personal opinion, so don't get mad at me. But I think that sometimes blending your influences is a way to kind of do something original. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody, with the exception of like Beck or Radiohead, that doesn't remind me of something that somebody else did. I'm sure there are others, and you can comment on it if you want. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, at least in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily have to be original. Taking your influences and mashing those together sometimes can be a really wonderful thing that is about as original as it gets. That, for what it's worth. Because I think there is that pressure. Oh, you need to do something that nobody else has done before.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Not a lot of people are going to be able to do that, but you can take your influences and possibly bring them together and create something really, really interesting and new, a new take on it. I don't know. I feel that that's one way to get to distinguish yourself and, as add to what has already been done before.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I maybe my mentality has always been a little bit of like, well, I have so much to learn from these great composers and arrangers and producers and everything. I'm still in the phase of, well, I need to mimic them. Like, how do they, like, I want to figure out the nuts and bolts of how they do their thing. And so in that mindset, you're always going, okay, I'm going to write, like in my late teens and early 20s, and it's sort of crazy to be living here and just up the road from where this band got their start. But Ben Folds 5, like as a piano player, like, I need to write songs like Ben Folds would write songs. So I'll sit down at a piano and go, well, holy shit, that's I need totally unique chord progressions. I need multi-voiced harmony, like whatever that is.
I would need piano lessons.
Well, me too, actually. I would probably be at the most disadvantaged here because. So then I write a Ben Folds 5 song. So then what? Like that's, or and I've had countless examples of musicians over the years. I raised Paul McCartney earlier, but that's okay. So you've written a Paul McCartney song, obviously you are, who was it? Was it Einstein said that standing on the back of giants kind of thing? Like you leapfrog off those that have gone before you. But I guess I just, in that vein, I often just wonder, like, well, what
what more do I have to contribute? What more do I have to say? But the point is that maybe what both of you guys are saying is uniqueness comes from just being inherently authentic to yourself. You know. In fact, I should have realized. I think I said to my daughter the other day. She's 8. I said, because she was comparing herself to someone, might have even been, God forbid, someone on YouTube or something, you know. And I said, look, the only person you should ever compare yourself to is yourself, you know. So you know, take my own words of advice, I suppose.
When it comes to songwriting too, I just want to say the songs that have stuck with me the most through the years are just songs that I feel like couldn't help but be written, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're so raw. They're just like, it's just like the person just literally sat down and it just flowed out of them like tears or something, you know, like,
yeah.
This is me getting a little emo, but like
those painful, horrible, regretful, anxious tears.
Or it could be, it could be a happy song as well. There are those songs too. And then it was interesting. Actually, Sam sent me this the other day, but it was an interview with Kurt Cobain talking about his distaste of theory. And I thought a lot, I was a really interesting thing because I feel like some of the best, or, I don't know, best is a really hard thing to say. Some of my favorite songwriters are ones that their progressions, their melodies, whatever, they don't follow a conventional theory, and for me, at least when I try and write, I definitely am too bound in, well, this chord has to go to this chord, or, blah, 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 as far as, rather than just hearing something and putting it out there. Guys like Rich, I know you love Radiohead, I do too, but Tom York, like he's just hearing, and Freddie Mercury, guys, like they just hear in their head and then they put it out, and it's not going to follow your traditional theory, or so.
In terms of the Radiohead stuff, I remember, I think I played it for you, that YouTube video of the guy breaking down a particular song from Radiohead, and I found it interesting.
And it makes no sense on paper.
Well, no, it makes no, absolutely. And I found it difficult to believe that when they were writing that song, that's kind of what they were going for. As you said, Eric, they were just hearing the song, they were just feeling it, and it went where it went, and then you can, these people can go on YouTube and try to break it down and kind of find the musical genius in it. But I seriously doubt that's what Tom York was thinking about when he was writing that song. It's just, well, this is what sounds good here. Maybe it's not conventional, but it sounds good.
And this is how I feel, and this is the sound that I'm putting with that feeling. Like that's what, to me, makes it, that's my goal when I try and write, is to just put out a feeling into sound. But it's easy to say.
Well, yeah, well, of course. But now I will say, going back to the Kurt Cobain thing, I thought that was like bullshit. Honestly, I just think he was just trying to be Mr. Anti-establishment. It's like, whatever, man. Whatever.
I get that. I can see that.
Well, let me ask both of you a question, because we talked about Sam, and for the audience, Sam is a guy that we used to play with at Dueling Piano Bar in Raleigh. He's moved on now to Dallas, playing out there. But that one song that he wrote, "Missing Home," and I was talking to him about it, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to hearing more of your stuff. And he was lamenting the fact that every time he would sit down and write something, it just sounded like a song that, a cover song. It sounded like somebody else's song. But I asked him, and I guess I'll put this question to you guys. How many songs have you guys written? Because the thing of it is like, you're not going to get, I think we have this perception that great songwriters, it just flows out of them. And sometimes it does. But other times, I've heard stories of bands going into the studio. They recorded their biggest album. When they went in, they didn't have a song, or maybe they had pieces of a song that they had to work on and bring out. And, with Sam, I'm like, well, how many original songs have you written? Yeah. practice makes perfect. It sounds corny, but
That's
it's
right.
kind of true. And so, I mean,
It's definitely a muscle you got to train.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, I don't know how many songs you've written. Eric, I don't know how many songs you've written, but if it's not a lot, then it's probably not surprising that it's not up to your standard right now, especially given the fact that you guys play other people's music so much.
Yeah.
You know what a good song
part
is.
of it too. I think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of, hey, get in there and do it. And yeah, the first couple songs are probably going to be terrible. But you might even be able to revisit those later. Sometimes it's a matter of finding a writing style or whatever it is, just finding what works for you, doing it enough times, and hey, who knows what could happen?
Well, it's almost like you. From what I can gather, for people that it just comes naturally, or maybe they're prolific, yes, I guess there is a certain extent of like, the 10,000 hours kind of approach. But I don't know. I'm from what I can gather, like your Paul McCartney's, your Taylor Swift's, like they can't not write. It just they've got to get it out.
Exactly.
It's like and it's like the Michelangelo thing of like the statue is inside the rock. You've just got to uncover it, like it's already in there. So
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. It's funny because that book, the Bono's memoirs that I was writing, and he does go back to the fact that we live a pretty good life thanks to our fans. And it was nothing like what we thought it was going to be. When I was talking to our manager on the side of a street in the rain, talking about why we couldn't get a van to start traveling. And then when we signed a record deal, he goes, I wasn't thinking about money. I was thinking about how can I get these songs out of me?
Yeah, there you go.
So, the rest is history in that respect. But
yeah.
I think you're right. Those people, but I don't even think it's just those people. I think it's anyone with the desire to write. I don't want to say everybody can be a great songwriter because they can't. I'm living proof of that. But you're right. It's in there, and sometimes you just you got to work at uncovering it, and that seems. I don't know. I think our perception is that it just comes out naturally, but I don't think it always does. And I think the people that have an effortless time writing songs, whether it's lyrics or music or both, those people are the minority.
Well, I don't know if this is a comment of where the music industry was 15, 20 years ago, at the time when I was really trying to be more as just write more songs. But I do remember at the time people would talk about, and like I had some like decent experience with the 10 tenors that I was singing with. We were signed to Warner, so there was an incentive there to like get songs written. And now I will say I got lucky. I wrote, well, I don't know about if I did get lucky. I wrote one song that I feel like came very easily to me. I wrote it on guitar, in fact, and it ended up on an album that went platinum in Australia. More so because of the other songs that were on there, but I had a song on that album, so I can tell. Technically, I'm a platinum songwriter, platinum selling songwriter, but which I don't mean for that to sound like I'm tooting my own horn. In fact, it's the opposite. But in those days, I feel like record companies and like a lot of musicians I would hang around with. Like I remember one guy that was like, he was an up and coming songwriter, and he was like, "Oh, I think I've written the next Teenage Dirtbag." And like Warner Brothers, they wanted the next You Raise Me Up. Like it was always comparing, and in fact, as you guys were talking, I thought that there's almost like a sports analogy there of like you gotta have, can you run the 100 meters just that little bit faster? Like we got to get better and better and better and better. And it's not sports. It's not a metric, you know. Now maybe if you look at album sales, and I guess that's the problem, use that term loosely, with a record company, is that's their bottom line. They're looking for record sales. They're looking for metrics.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think that maybe that tainted me a little bit. Having the exposure to that side of the industry, I don't know.
It wouldn't be surprising because, you know, like back in the days when I actually listened to the radio, and I remember when I was in my 20s when Creed broke. Well, everybody sounded like Creed because the record companies were like, give me more of that.
That's right.
Because that sells. And some people capitulated and other people walked away. They're like, I don't want to be like Creed. I want to do what I want to do. But the record company didn't want that. And back in the 60s and 70s, you could get away with that to a certain extent. Bands like the Police did that. The Police came out with a style of music that the record companies didn't want, you know, and they came over to tour America, and the record company didn't want them in America. And at first, it seemed like the record company was right because they would play a show and then go to the bar and drink with the three people that were at the show while they're watching the game, you know. So, but you know, they stuck to it, and you know, there you have it. But yeah, that whole thing. Now, of course, the record industry is a shell of itself these days with streaming and whatnot. But but back in the day, whatever was big, they wanted more of that.
That's right.
Because you're only going to get Creed to record so many albums, so you get these other bands that kind of sound like them, and the record company's happy. But what does that say about the creative side of it? And what does that do to the performers that are kind of stuck in that area? You know, they're stuck in the middle of that. You know, they're probably kind of questioning what they're doing. You know, leads to anxiety and depression and you know, performance. You know, they've got to perform, and if they don't sell enough albums sounding like somebody else, they may not have a record deal. You know,
that would be enough to drive someone who wants to be authentic, but a song that they hate or don't feel attached to is something they have to perform every night, you know? But like for me, I wrote some songs in high school that were just real bad.
Tell us what you really feel here.
I don't know. Maybe if I went back and listened to them today, it would, I bet they'd still be. But I wrote one, you know, and I had, you know, I could sing in high school, and I was, you know, one of the only guys in my classes that, you know, was a good singer. So people knew me for that, and people would, you know, want to listen to a song that I wrote or whatever. And I remember, you know, I had about maybe 9 or 10 of them. And I wrote one on the guitar for my high school girlfriend. It was called 2 Years Ago. And it was just
nice title.
Just just the poppiest, just kind of makes me cringe, but just a poppy little melody with G, D, and C on the acoustic guitar. And, you know, that was everyone's favorite. And it was like,
there you go.
Because it was, I don't know, quote, heavy quote, catchy or whatever, you know. And that makes me think about that scene from Mr. Holland's Opus when he's trying to teach in a music appreciation class, you know, to kids who, you know, are trying to learn how to appreciate music. They don't have, you know, maybe they have what they like, but in that class they're expecting classical or whatever, and they, you know, all look real bored. And he starts playing, I don't know who does that song, Louie, whatever that.
The Kingsmen, I think.
Oh yeah,
Kingsmen, yeah.
And everyone starts like tapping their foot, and you know, it's just a song that just makes you move, you know. And so that's these, you know, songs like that are the ones I remember, you know. But yeah, I'm not sure where my final point was with that, but oh yeah, my songs in high school were pretty rough. That was my point.
Well, and there again too, it's like some of the most impressive things. I shouldn't say impressive things, but some of the things that kind of move me the most aren't necessarily complicated. You know,
Right.
There again, you have that. I need to have. You know, maybe you're thinking I need to have. You know. Interesting chord progressions, but sometimes, you know, something as Eric said, something that just kind of makes you tap your toes, and some of the most, for me as a drummer, some of the most exciting drum fills I've ever heard are just, you know, simple single stroke rolls just placed at the right time, maybe building or coming in from a bridge to the chord, you know, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be complicated. Simple harmonies sometimes work the best. And I just think, you know, I think there is a lot of pressure to be unique. But what is that? Just we talked about what is success. Well, what is being unique? You know, I don't think it has a definition. Like I said, these people mash up different styles, the people that they listened to when they were growing up, and but they put it more in a modern context. That's pretty unique to me. Because it gives people something that they remember, but it also pushes it maybe a little more into the modern day. At least that's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's I mean, what is unique? I mean, just being born. I mean, we're inherently unique. And maybe that's enough. I mean, I guess that the secondary aspect is, oh no, maybe we've touched on this already, is just that, yeah, a sense of, is it good enough? I could have the most, you know, divine inspiration for songwriting, but if it's not good, you know, if it's not good enough, it's not going to sell. It's not going to, people won't want to listen to it, you know. And maybe that goes back to, Eric, your point about don't let comparison be the thief of joy. But yeah, I mean, here I am 45, I keep going, oh, I just got to do this and this and that. And then when I do that and I learn more about this and, oh yeah, I really should sit down and study this thing and that. Well, well, I'm going to wake up dead trying to compose, you know, like, yeah, I don't know.
I think first of all, it's about perspective. You know, are you going to tie yourself to other people's expectations, or have you adopted those expectations yourself, which maybe isn't a good thing. I mean, today there's so many different ways that people can make music and release it. You know, you no longer have to have a record company. And I think if you feel good about it, that's at least a start. You know, if you want people to buy it, then, you know, putting it out there and seeing how it does is usually a good indicator of that. But, you know, I think there's no accounting for taste. And some of the stuff that I listen to, people would think is just absolute shit. And, well, maybe it is, but I like it. And hopefully, you know, other people seem to like it. So, you know, maybe kind of the prerequisite to writing stuff that is good enough is understanding that maybe this perception of what is good and what is bad, I don't know if society created it, the record industry created it, but if you can kind of move away from that, then I think maybe you'll have a better perspective. Now, of course, if it's just not sounding right to you, well, then, you know, maybe you need to make some changes. But how much of what we think doesn't sound good is predicated on what other people think sounds good?
That's what I was going to say, is that I think the consumption of music is very group oriented, particularly, the top 10 or whatever, people want to like what their friends like. They want to sing what their friends sing so they can have those moments, And, yeah, I don't know. And for me, there's been songs in the past that I really didn't like the first few times I listened, but then after a few months, loved it. So it completely changed my view on it.
Why do you think that is, though?
I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that.
Because I can tell you, in my case, it's oversaturation. Because when I used to be when I was schlepping pizzas out of Disney World, I was listening to the radio all the time, and they played that damn "Welcome to the Black Parade" song every hour on the hour. And
but you love that song.
Yeah. Now I come back to it, and I actually think it's one of the best songs ever written in the rock genre. I do. You hate me for it or not, I don't care. But I hated it for a while. But I hated it because I heard it all the time. You know?
Yeah. So,
and as to why a song might resonate with you later on, that would be an interesting question to answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's the same with TV shows and movies in the past too. I hated the show Friends the first few times I watched it, and then it turned into one of my favorite shows. I don't know why. I don't know why it clicks suddenly. I don't know.
I feel like for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I've always felt compelled that I just had to dislike pop. You're not allowed to like pop. You
can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what drove that.
No. It's. I don't know if it's a guy thing, but I'm kind of with you on that too. I don't anymore.
I can appreciate a very well written song. Whatever.
I'm totally with you on that. I don't really particularly care for country, but what's the tune? See, I don't even know the country songs, but who does it? Long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart. Who's that? Eric Ewan.
Oh, that's Luke Combs.
Yeah. Okay. It's a stupid song, but it's actually kind of it's a well written song.
I think he's a great songwriter.
It's not.
Yep. And it's kind of old school country too.
Yeah. It's not my style, but I think it's a good song. If it's a good song, it's a good song. Doesn't matter. So,
yeah, maybe it's look, there's, again, this is why musicians need therapists. If you
yes,
dug way down, a therapist would sort of say, well, what's the fear there? What are you worried about? I'm sure that there is an inherent sense of, well, if my music isn't good enough, then I'm as a person, human being, I'm not good enough. If we want to get super into the weeds of it,
Yeah, something that came out of you. It's personal. You created
very personal. Very personal.
So yeah, if they're saying they don't like that, then it's like, well, they don't like you. Yeah, that's where you would. That's where my mind would go.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, I'm getting really into the thick of it, but I do think I'm the sort of personality that always needed a gold star. I needed approval. And I do wonder, as I'm thinking about it now, perhaps the inherent, at least for me, system of exposure to music early on was essentially, on a meritocracy. I don't know what you call it, meritocratic, whatever, award-based learning thing. So it was, you do your exams. How well did you do? And again, back to the sports analogy, the metrics. What did you get on your piano exam? What did you get on your violin exam? And then, do you guys know the term Eisteddfod?
No.
It's I think it's a British term. It's a music competition, music arts, so dance, whatever. It just means competition. But we had one in the town I grew up in, and there was like speech and drama, dance, music, all that kind of stuff. And the town had one every year, and you entered on. For me, it was piano and voice and violin and all, So fundamental music learning was all based on meritocracy. It was all based on comparison. Trophies, medals, and awards. And that can kind of burn you out a bit. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, I think you come to expect that.
Yeah. Oh God! it's all just coming crashing down.
Sorry, our time is up.
We never gave you one medal after a quality night at the piano bar. I feel bad about that.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that's all I needed. Just a little ribbon.
Would have made all the difference, and then we would have a podcast about something else because Craig wouldn't need therapy because he would have been validated by us.
That's right. Validation. That's what I'm looking for. Validation.
I've had, maybe 3 or 4 times a recurring dream of getting off stage and, whoever I'm playing with that night coming up and being like, "Are you okay, Eric? That sounded really bad." Like like 3 or 4 of those. And I don't know. I try to consider, to be really introspective and think, particularly in dreams, what feeling is causing that, and what do I feel in the dream when they tell me that, and it's definitely like, shame, embarrassment those are the feelings I feel, in those in that dream anyway, and yeah, if I think, for me, it all comes back to emotions. And for me, I would consider it a successful song if I wrote something that was, translating an emotion that I felt, and it helps someone out in some way, because however you're feeling, someone else is feeling the same way, and if you write a song to help you get through those moments, which, I think a lot of the, well, maybe, I don't know, but I'm sure, a lot of the best songs ever written are songs that were written as just a necessary expression of, heartache or anger or loneliness or whatever, and, lots of people feel those
things. That's right, that we all
experience, and that's how music helps people. That's what makes it an art. Art is what hits us in our feels. So
yeah, it's well, and it's not just music either. Like I remember I did the that last video for Plus, and I showed it to some of the staff about 2 or 3 weeks before we were closing, and a couple of them got a little teary-eyed, and in a way I was like, oh, then I did my job.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean it to sound cold or callous, because I wasn't thinking that, but I'm like, okay, I was able to construct something that relayed a story that was emotional to some people. And that reaction was the validation of like, okay, that's what it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be a feel good, happy sort of thing. And yeah, sometimes maybe the music composition doesn't matter as much as the emotions that you're trying to convey in the song, and whether that comes from chord structure or a well-written lyric or whatever, I don't think it has necessarily a definition. We can talk about being unique in terms of music composition and whatnot, but sometimes relaying an emotion. You know, there's a song by an indie artist called Medium Build, and one of the lines in it, it's like, I think I'm in love with that songwriter because he says everything that I feel. And sometimes that's good enough.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes that's the pinnacle. Like, oh, I did it. You know, I finally did that. And maybe that would be an answer to the question as well, Craig. I've done something that's moved people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because you can look at it from plenty of different aspects, but sometimes the emotion alone is.
Well, I'm sure you have, Craig, and I've had nights playing, you know, at the end of the night or middle of the night, whatever, someone comes up to you and was like, you know, I just lost my husband, or,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
Have terrible life things going on. And, you know, I was able to forget about that for like a couple hours tonight, you know, and that always puts things into perspective that, you know, music, it really makes a difference. What we do makes a difference, you know?
Because I think that sometimes when you're, both of you, playing certain songs, it becomes more than just a cover. It almost becomes your song. The way you play it, the way you sing it, might not be like the album, and sometimes that's better, you know. Now, I wouldn't say that happens with every song, of course. That's not necessarily realistic, but there are times where it's like, yeah, that sounded that sounded like Eric, or that sounded like Craig. That was it was almost as if that song became yours. You know, that's gratifying as well. Maybe not on a lasting level, like a song that will live in the annals of rock and roll history, but at that moment, at that time, that can be very satisfying.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's an important point. Is that I don't know. I think to a certain extent, the concept of what I'm presenting here is placing, for whatever reason, a lot of like heavy success on being a songwriter, but and maybe there's a little bit of that, like, dueling pianos, taking people's song requests, that's pretty hokey, whatever. It's not. It doesn't have the prestige of a songwriter. But I mean, what is that too? You know, what that's a bias. That's some sort of bias that I'm bringing to it. You're right. Like live music, live performance, the way it can move people, like. Yeah, maybe the concept of dueling pianos can be a little hokey and cheesy and manufactured, but at the end of the day, like it's live music. You're playing an instrument, and God, in the age of burgeoning AI, like I think that's only going to be more and more respected. So it's
I hope so. I hope so.
It's well, Eric has he doesn't like AI at all.
I'm an 80-year-old man sucking. I don't like the new technology.
It's like, what did AI do? Insult your mom? I mean,
everyone uses it. I know. I mean, I guess I got.
Well, my voice is completely AI right now. I'm actually in bed right now. AI is doing everything. Nice. I'm watching TV in my bedroom. Nice. And the show's better for it. Right. So there you have it.
I think too, just what is hard is like when music becomes your profession too, I wonder if there's a bit more pressure. I'm actually doing some work right now with a local songwriter here, a guy who's retired. I think he's around about 70 years of age. He's had these songs inside him forever. And he's like, I just want to get them out. And, he sends me these very rough voice memos. And
like him just singing a melody.
Him singing a melody into his phone,
and you come up with a progression.
Yeah, I produced the whole thing. And he it's so gratifying. He plays it for his kids, his grandkids. And in fact, we're gonna put him online. We're gonna put him on, I don't know, Spotify or something, and just see what traction they can get. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I mean, it is hard for me too because I've made a lot of my career has been in arranging and producing and doing music that other people have written, obviously dueling pianos. But man, that does bring me joy, and I do also like figuring out ways to tweak songs and using the knowledge that I have of existing songs. Maybe I didn't write it myself, but I can help someone bring it to life, make it translate. I mean, music is a language, obviously. Like it's let me interpret your emotions, whatever it is, and provide you that musical language, that structure to with a rhythm section and this and that to make it accessible to people. I mean, and that's, I love that. It's great.
Are there lyrics?
Sorry?
Are there lyrics?
Yeah.
Because I just
does he write them or do you write them?
Mainly he does. I will sort of say like, oh, we need a pre-chorus here. Can you give me 2 lines of this? Or you need to double your chorus, or so that I bring that kind of just a bit more maybe structure to it. But no, he's essentially writing all the lyrics. So
I just had this thought, like, I think most of what we've talked about has been, for lack of a better term, pop music, whatever, and rock, indie, which are associated with lyrics, which is a big part of conveying the emotion of the song, right? So what about just like the old classical stuff, that has, or instrumental things that have no words? Is that, that's different to create a feeling with just that.
Yeah, but there again, I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I mentioned them earlier. It's a math rock band called Chon. And they have this song, I believe it's called Bubble Dream. And it's got this weird kind of chord progression, and the drums come in. It's kind of like odd time signature. And then the guitar player does this like a harmonics thing, just that one part. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the song for me. That was that moment where I'm like, I want to listen to that again. Mm-hmm. And I did multiple times. It was just, it was just so well placed. It wasn't overly technical, but I'm like, it was a break in the song where the guitar player just did that and the band came back in. That was a big deal for me. Just that. So yeah, I think that's just one example. I whether it's a musician, showing you their technical proficiency, or whether it's just, I remember listening to a Steve Vai song one time. It was an instrumental where they did the song and replicated what it would sound like of a record skipping.
Oh, wow.
That was their break. That was a time signature shift. Oh, wow. And that blew my mind, So, who's to say what, for me, that was amazing.
Yeah.
A simple basic harmony line in a Foo Fighters song will get me going, or a repeat. Incubus did a song called "Dig," where they had a repeat in the verses, and they put like reverb on it and whatnot. And that was cool for me. Yep. Just those little things that made a huge. That was awesome for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Well, I think we've. I think we've solved it all. I think we're good.
Yep. Now, yeah. I think we've gotten Craig on the way to being a better songwriter, because the stuff he's been writing has been shit lately. It's like, gosh.
But you know why now? So
I know why. So step it up.
That's right.
Step it up. Yeah. All right. Well, anything else to add, gentlemen?
I mean, I'll have a gold star waiting for your next song.
Yeah. I will. I will have lots of congratulatory emojis on our next text.
I do appreciate that. Right. I remember my mum always used to say that, like, when I was in primary school, elementary school, like often, like all the squeaky wheels would get the grease, all the bad kids would get all the encouragement, that kind of thing. And she stormed She stormed into the school one day and said, "My son has been doing very well in school. He hasn't had any awards and any stickers and any. You're rewarding all the bad kids."
Did you get an award the next go round?
I might have. Yeah, I think I might have. So yeah, that's an insight into my troubled youth. Well, cool, guys. No, honestly, it's been really interesting, and we could talk for hours about it, but it's
we're not going to.
No, but we won't. We won't bore you with that. But no, I really appreciate it. It's good to just not really, we joke about it, but not really trying to solve the issue. This is going to be for anyone for whom this resonates. It's a lifelong struggle, as it were. But it's nice to just shoot the shit.
And hopefully we helped a little bit. It's kind of what we want. So, all right. Well, it's been a good time, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and for everybody listening, thank you for checking us out. If you're listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment if you want. If you're listening on Spotify, I believe it's the follow button. We would really appreciate that as well. So for myself, Eric Forbes, and Craig Henry, we'll catch you next time.